3 servings a day of the glucogel and or the collagen peptides, okay, which are the raw materials for your bones to rebuild cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, and so forth. And the ringing in the ears will go away very quickly. The rapid heart rate will go away very quickly because they're actually a squeezing of the bones, okay, of your 10th cranial nerve here, the vagus nerve for the tachycardia, and of course the tinnitus is the auditory branch of the 8th cranial nerve. But this stuff all goes away very quickly. Got to get rid of the bad stuff, you maximize absorption. And then, give us a call every couple of weeks because you're going to be a great story. You will have a great story to share with George.
That's a success story to be sure. And here's that toll-free number, Michael, if you missed anything, 1-855-949-7234. What is it about the spinal cord, Doc, that helps the heart or creates that rapid heartbeat?
Okay, now the spinal cord, that's if your disc between your vertebrae are shrinking, the vertebrae get closer together and are smashing the roots of the first 4 thoracic spinal nerves that control the rate and rhythm of the heart. In this case, he says he hasn't shrunk any, so there's also the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, which also controls the rate and rhythm of the heart. So, and he's also got osteoporosis of the skull causing tinnitus or ringing in the ear, which is a squeezing of the auditory branch of the 8th cranial nerve. I actually have a new book coming out. I've just looked at the final edit here. It's going to be out next week. It's called It's All in Your Head, and it looks at 25 different diseases you get from osteoporosis of the skull. And so we'll send you a case. You'll have fun with them.
Yeah, let's do that. We can give some out, too, as little gifts for people. 25-year-olds, a lot of them listen to our program. Some of them are probably at home saying, I'm 25, I don't get sick. Why do I need all this supplementation? What do you tell them?
Well, you buy a new car. Only has, 200 miles on it, you're still going to put oil in there to prevent the engine from burning up. And so you're not going to put dirt from Texas in there and hope there's some oil in it, right?
That's right.
You're going to put some oil in there. So even if you're only 20-something years old, you want to be taking all the stuff you need to make sure your body has the raw materials it wants to maintain, repair, rebuild itself. It has the capacity to do that, but it needs raw materials. And you cannot get this stuff from your food. The most idyllic situations, which occur near the Giltar Glacier and the Hunza people between Pakistan and China, they're the longest lived peoples on Earth. And the Giltar Glacier grinds up the rocks in that canyon that it goes through. And these people live on the floodplain, so it floods every year, and those minerals get laid into their soil. And every year, they are the longest-lived people. They have people who celebrate their 168th birthday, their 180th birthday. They're documented. And there was a very famous book and a movie made by a New York Times investigative reporter by the name of James Hilton. You may remember the movie and the book is called Lost Horizon.
Oh, sure. Great movie.
Yeah, because there's a guy who was 250-something years old, and nobody could believe it. So the New York Times sent James Hilton to China to check this guy out. And he followed him for a year.
He was in Shangri-La or something like that, right?
Well, that's the name they gave it, but it's actually Hunza.
Okay.
And so you're very good, George. That's why people love you.
Not bad, huh?
But at any rate, he tracked this guy for a year, and he wrote up this story to publish in the New York Times. He said, this is too much, let's make a book out of it. And they made the book Lost Horizon, and Shangri-La was the mythical place where these people lived so long. And they made a movie out of it in 1933. But James Hilton was a vicious, aggressive investigative reporter, and they figured if this guy is lying about his age, James Hilton...
His career was done.
Yeah. He would figure it out, okay? And so James Hilton, he says, no, this guy's real.
The real deal.
Real deal.
It's out there. Let's go to Ann in Oceanside, California. Ann, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yes, real quickly. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I got that after I had a bad accident and broken bones, and it just set up this inflammatory process. I'd never had anything like that before, and so, but I've been managing it without going on any immune-suppressing drugs. I'm on your diet, no gluten, no fried foods, no oils, and all that. So I've been managing it. But I wanted to ask you about taking zinc, because I know that the zinc is good for stimulating your T cells and your natural killer cells for protection from infections and cancer and so forth. But when I take that, I get a flare-up. And I'm just wondering, and I'm not taking any more than, the most I've taken 50 milligrams a day. Mm-hmm. So I'm just wondering what somebody can do, people with rheumatoid arthritis, that, because, normally try to suppress your immune system.
Okay, now, you have to appreciate, again, here's where medical doctors are incorrect. They want you to believe that there's a virus causing rheumatoid arthritis. It's actually a bug that's kind of halfway between a bacteria and a virus. It's called a mycoplasma. And this mycoplasma has jumped on you because, did you have arthritis? Did you have bone-to-bone arthritis or osteoporosis before you got the rheumatoid arthritis?
No, it all happened right after I had an accident, and I had a horrible break, and then I got CRPS. And then that seemed to maybe clear up, and then I ended up with this rheumatoid arthritis. I'd never had anything like that before.
Okay, well, that was an infection. It jumped on you, and you're weakened state there, okay?
Oh.
Now, there is a antibiotic that will kill this mycoplasma, which has jumped on your bone-to-bone arthritis, which gives you a positive RA, and doctors mistake that for a viral infection. It's a mycoplasma infection, and the antibiotic is called minocycline. You require a prescription for that, so you want to call your doctor and say, hey, I want you to write me a prescription for minocycline because I understand it gets rid of the mycoplasma. He's going to say, Zan's onto this, so I better just write her the prescription so she'll be quiet and go deal with it. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. How much do you weigh, Ann?
Well, I'm very thin. I'm 5'7" and weigh about 95. I'm very
95
thin.
pounds, okay.
But what about taking the zinc dye? That does seem to cause a flare-up of it.
Well, let me get to that. Okay. You need 90 essential nutrients. Zinc is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You shouldn't be just taking a lot of one nutrient. Now, we do have a lozenge, okay? It's called a zinc lozenge. It tastes like raspberries. Kids love it.
Kids love that stuff. Oh, yeah.
Isn't it great? I take 2 of those a day, but you can start out with a half of one, Ann. But you do need, at 95 pounds, I would get 1 Healthy Brain and Heart pack per month, take a half a dose of everything twice a day, get 1 bottle of the MSM, so you can take 3 of those twice a day or 2, 3 times a day. And that's going to help you rebuild the bone-to-bone arthritis that you have in your knees and your hips and your neck and your shoulders, wherever you have the RA, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going to take vitamin D3. Even though you live in California, you probably put sunblocker on or stay in the shade kind of thing, so you still need your vitamin D3. Take 3 of those twice a day. That's 2 bottles a month. And then I want you to take the collagen peptides. Get a canister, it's a powder, or collagen peptides, and take 2 doses of that a day. And it's collagen from fish and poultry and sheep and beef, and it gives your bones the raw material they need to rebuild itself. But do get that minocycline antibiotic, and will kill that bug, mycoplasma. And then give us, again, you can get those zinc lozenges. They taste like raspberries. Kids love them, but I would just crack one in half and take a half of one. But take it when you're taking the other 90 essential nutrients, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack and the MSM, vitamin D3, and the collagen peptides. Don't just take it by itself. Okay.
Thanks, Ann. Hope everything works out for you. We have text and tweets. Tom, what do you have for Doc?
So we do from Jason in Little Rock, Arkansas. Can you please ask Doc if stretching every day will help with bones aching, and what else can be done?
Well, stretching doesn't hurt, Doc. What do you think?
Well, it's one of those things where, one person's version of stretching is too much, especially if you have osteoporosis, and he's talking about bones hurting, okay? So this guy's probably got osteoporosis, and he needs to be taking the 90 essential nutrients along with the exercise. The exercise alone might actually aggravate it. It's kind of like running your car without oil. Even if you're only running 10 miles an hour.
The engine's going to seize up.
Yeah, exactly, and wear out. And so we want him to take 1 Healthy Brain and Heart pack per 100 pounds of body weight, 3 MSM twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight, vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And you need to get rid of all the bad foods, fried foods, processed meats, oils, gluten, wheat, brown oats, and sugar. And then if he has pain, we do have the CM cream and the trauma oil. He can put 4 or 5 drops of the trauma oil into, say, a teaspoon or tablespoon of the CM cream. Mix it up real good because it tends to settle out every day. And you don't want to just be putting the water on the pain. You want to be putting the CM cream, so you got to mix it up every day. And then put the 5 drops of the trauma oil in it and put it on the knee, the shoulder, the back, or the hip, or wherever the pain is. And he'll get within 10-15 minutes immediate, relief for, say, 2 to 3 hours. And after a while, as the bones rebuild, then he won't need to do it so often. And after maybe a couple of months, he won't need to put the CM cream and the trauma oil on for pain relief.
Doc, what was it that got you to start doing this for the company Youngevity? How did you, what was your aha moment to say, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, my aha moment came when I was 9 years old, 71 years ago.
My God.
And for 5 years, I had been getting worse and worse. From the time I was 4 or 5 years, 9 years old, I was in big trouble.
Were you sickly?
I wasn't sickly from the standpoint where I had a fever or anything like that, but they didn't even have a name for it back then. But today it would be called autism. Okay, autism.
Really?
And I had Tourette syndrome, which is kind of, a behavioral problem went along with it, and facial tics, and my face would scrunch up, and I'd scream. And
you cuss at events. No, I'm kidding. But that's what they do that sometimes with Tourette's.
Yep. And so what happened was, after a period of 5 years, my parents by that time had taken me to 20 different doctors, and they all said, look, this guy needs to be institutionalized. He's going to hurt himself or somebody else. They didn't have a name for it, but I was getting worse and worse and worse. And so I asked my mom, I said, what does that mean? She said, well, we're going to put you in the hospital. I said, well, how long am I going to be there? And she said, well, you may be there for the rest of your life. I said, well, that doesn't sound good. I'm 9 years old. And so when everybody else went to sleep that night, we grew up on a little farm, Angus farm in Missouri, and I said, well, why don't animals have the same problem I have? And I thought about it. And the animals, these calves, we would give the little alfalfa pellets, like rabbit pellets, little alfalfa pellets with all the vitamins and minerals in it, because we weren't sure that the grass and the pasture and the grain had all the nutrients in it, so we gave them these alfalfa pellets for the nutrients. So the next morning I started taking these nutrients, in my cereal, and taking them for snacks. I was eating them all day. As God is my witness, George, in 3 days' time I was cured.
Wow, you did it to yourself. Hold on, Doc. We'll finish the story and take final calls in a moment on Coast to Coast AM, criticalhealthnews.com.
Well, we're not going to get the end, but I think you get the knowledge of this particular individual doctor. I guess he's practicing some type of something. But you understand his... I wish he wouldn't run through fast some of the important things that he says. I know it's redundant for him, but it does seem kind of spooky for a guy that seems to be spot on with certain things. On those, like glancing through certain pronunciations or dictations, accurate, accurately saying the syllables correctly. You kind of can't tell what he said. Sometimes he goes through it so fast. For somebody that's so thorough, it's kind of hard to hear him do something like that. It's very critical sometimes for others. Even myself, I heard him go through this several times, and I still couldn't quite understand what the heck did he just say, but I guess it's there. All right, God bless.